Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a follower of the channel and you are looking to get some good SAT advice, right? We do the weekly live streams every Wednesday. You may have tuned in this morning, actually, and we're doing it Thursday and Friday instead of Wednesday this week because the SAT is on Saturday. If you tuned in, you may have saw me on camera, you may have saw the test going, but you may not have heard anything. And apparently my audio wasn't working. I did not know that, and it really stinks because I went through the entire no calculator section with no audio, and that's no good for you guys. So I'm going to do it again. Now, caveat is, I've already seen these problems, but it is what it is. I'm still going to go through under time settings and explain them to you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I got it all set up here. This is test number 5, no calculator, and let's begin. All right. Question number 1, it says, which of the following is an equation of line L in the xy plane above? Now, if you notice here in this line, it's got a y-intercept at 1, and it's got a slope of 1. So in y equals mx plus b, we need to have plus 1, and we need to have 1 multiplying the x, which is d right there. Let's move on to the next question. The circle above with center O is circumference of 36. What is the length of minor arc AC? So you notice this entire thing all the way around is going to be 36. And this is a right angle, and that's very important because that means that it is cut into a quarter. You can kind of see this looks like it's cut into quarters very nicely. But the 90 degrees reinforces that because what's going on here is 90 is 1/4 of 360. So this is 1/4 of that 36 circumference. 1/4 of 36 is 9. What are the solutions of this guy? All right, so how are we going to do this? We are going to factor if possible. But the first thing I'm going to do is divide everything by 4 and make it x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now we're going to factor and we're going to see what we get. So this one's actually not too bad to factor. It becomes x minus 3. X plus 1. Why did I do that? Because they multiply to negative 3, and then when we do like this, we get positive x, negative 3x, they combine to negative 2x. So what are our solutions? X equals 3, x equals negative 1. Those are the two solutions. That 3 makes this go to 0, negative 1 makes this go to 0. So we got 3 and negative 1, and we're good. Next question. It says, oops, we're having some glitches with my Wacom tablet. This guy, right? I'm using the pen. It's been glitching the last few days. I don't know why. Which of the following is an example of a function whose graph is an xy plane and has no x-intercepts, meaning it doesn't hit the x-axis, right? Oh, all right. So let's see. A linear function whose rate of change is not 0, no, because it would go like this or like this. It would definitely hit the x-axis. A quadratic function with no real zeros, that's our winner. Because a quadratic function with no real zeros means it never touches the x-axis. It's either above it or below it. We don't need to go any further. That's the answer. Here we go. Next one, k plus 2. They said if x equals 9, what is the value of k? Right off the bat, let's plug in 9 for x and let's solve for k. Add 9 to both sides. We got square root of k plus 2 equals 9. Square both sides, right? Get rid of that square root. K plus 2 equals 81. Minus 2 minus 2. K equals 79. Next. There we go. It says, which of the following is equivalent to this guy? They just want the sum of these two, right? So all we're doing is we're adding up a squared minus 1 plus a plus 1. We're adding this whole thing. These guys cancel out. Oops. Hold on. These guys cancel out. It's just a squared plus a. They don't combine because they're not like terms, and that's where you leave it. Question number 7. Jackie has 2 summer jobs as a tutor, which pays her $12 an hour, so I'm a tutor like me, and she works as a lifeguard, which pays her $9.50 per hour. She works no more than 20 hours per week, but she wants to earn 220 at least. Which of the following systems of inequalities represents this situation? Where x and y, where x is the number of hours she tutors, so this is, I'll put x here. Y is the number of hours she is a lifeguard. Look, bottom line is she can work no more than 20 hours a week. That's our first baseline. So x plus y, since those are the hours, have to be less than 20, less than or equal to 20. A is out, D is out. It's between B and C. So now the question is, we got to have she wants to earn at least 220, not at most 220. So it's got to be the amount she makes, which is 12x plus 9.5y, has to be greater than 220. So that's why this is our winner. And you notice they made this nice because they didn't really change too much up about these questions. They all have the money with the right variable, so you don't even have that question. It's just, hey, does she want to make at least or at most 220? All right, let's move on to question number 8. It says in air, the speed of sound s is a linear function with respect to the air temperature T in degrees given by 0.6 T plus 331.4, which is the following statement's best interpretation of 331.4. This, by the way, is your constant. This is what's happening when temperature is at 0. It's your y-intercept. So I can already tell you when this guy goes to 0, that's the airspeed. And right over here, or that's the speed of sound. And right over here, it's what it says. Speed of sound at 0 degrees Celsius. Not at 0.6, at 0 when this guy goes away. All right, next question. And we're making incredible time, but again, remember, I've seen these problems already, so I'm going a little bit fast. Hopefully the explanations are still coming through clearly. So we got a system of equations. What is the value of x times y? We're going to just do a little plug and chug here and solve this. So we've got it nicely set up as y equals x squared. I'm going to plug in x squared in for y. So 2x squared plus 6 equals, let's distribute these guys, 2x plus 6. Bring everything, oh, well, these guys cancel out, obviously, same thing. Subtract 2x from both sides. We got 2x squared minus 2x. Don't forget this, x has to be greater than 0. And let's factor out a 2x, right? And we got x minus 1 equals 0. Now everything's factored. So how does this go to 0 when x equals 0? That's one solution. But we need x greater than 0. How does it go to 0 here when x equals 1? That's the only possibility. That's our answer. All right, next one. A squared plus b squared equals z. AB equals y, which is the following is equal to 4z plus 8y. Well, let's just replace z with a squared plus b squared, replace y with ab. So we got 4 times a squared plus b squared. This is just substitution, right? Plus 8 times ab. Let's distribute. We got 4a squared plus 4b squared plus 8ab. Now, this is a tricky question, but hopefully you can recognize that this is a perfect square. I'm going to throw this guy in the middle because we can move it around. It doesn't matter. Plus 8ab plus 4b squared. Why is this a perfect square? Because look, these guys are perfectly squared. These guys are perfectly squared. What about this middle term? Let me show you how this works. All right. And look, it doesn't matter if you're not totally sure and you get to this point, you can try and factor these. You can even try and look at these and just look at what this first term is going to give you when you multiply it out. The only one that's going to give you a term of 4a squared is b. This gives you a squared as the first term. This gives you 16a squared. This gives you 16a squared. We don't even really need to do much more than that. We could factor and do all that, but we already know for sure this is our winner. And this gives us the 4b squared. We're set. All right, number 11. The volume of a right cylinder is 22 cubic meters. Volume of a right cylinder is pi r squared h. And it equals 22, they're saying. Okay, what is the volume in cubic centimeters with twice the radius? They want twice the radius. Make sure to square the 2 as well. And half the height, h over 2. Well, let's calculate this out. Pi, this becomes 4r squared. This becomes h over 2. These guys cancel out to become 2 over 1, right? So what do we end up with? We end up with 2. I'm just going to put the 2 on the outside. 2 pi r squared h. All right. Why am I doing it like this? You don't need to plug in numbers. You don't need to worry about 22. You don't need to do anything. That's all for confusion. Because really all we care about is what's the relationship when you double the radius and half the height. Well, let's just look at the baseline formulas. This is our formula for the original one. This is our formula for the new one. So it's doubled clearly because it's the same multiplied by 2. So we take 22, double it to 44. Next question is number 12. Oops. Let me clear this. All right, number 12. Which of the following is equivalent to 9 to the 3/4? All right. We take this guy and we say this is our root and this is our power. So a lot of times I like to rewrite it as it's really 9 to the 3rd and the 4th root of this. All right. Now let's continue to reduce this. I see 9 to the 3rd and it's really 9 times 9. Oops. 9 times 9 times 9. But that doesn't help us. We can't really simplify much from this because we don't have anything to the fourth power that we can extract. But I can do something else with that 9, which is kind of cool. I can actually turn them into 3s. I can say 3 times 3 is one of these 9s, times 3, which is this one, times 3, which is this guy. And then, look at this, we got a foursome that we can pull out. That's 3 to the fourth power. So we can rewrite this as 3 fourth power of 3 times 3. Or we can write this as 3 to the fourth power of 3 squared. But this doesn't look like any of these. The closest one is it looks like D. So maybe you might think D is your answer, but why? Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually turn this back into a fraction exponent. I'm going to show you why this is right. We take 3, and this is really, again, 3 to the 2 over 4, right? Because the 2 is the exponent, and that goes on top. 4 is the root, so it goes on the denominator. Simplify that fraction, 3 times 3 to the 1/2. And guess what? 3 to the 1/2, that's just the square root of 3. And then we, in fact, know D is definitely the right answer. Really tough problem, but very interesting problem. At a restaurant, n cups of tea are made by adding tea bags to hot water. If t equals n plus 2, how many additional tea bags are needed to make each additional cup? Now, let's think about this. We've got n cups of tea. All right, this is where it gets tricky. We got n cups of tea in this case. Now, n can't even equal 1 until t equals 3. This means that we don't even have a full cup of tea until we have 3 tea bags. Right? But that it's not asking, do we need 3 tea bags? What it's asking is, what happens to get each additional cup after this point? Now we want another cup, right? Here's our cup. Now this becomes 4. Then becomes 5 to get 3. You see, so the number n, it's basically going up, right? By 1 tea bag. 1 tea bag makes 1 additional cup of tea once you cross that threshold. So this is kind of a trick question. I think some people might choose 3. It's just 1. All right. Next, we got this. The function f is defined by the equation above. I'm going to sketch that one first. So it's an exponential equation. F of 2x plus 1. Now, where do we start? We want to start with our y-intercept. When it's to the 0th power, right? 2 to the 0th power is 1. 1 plus 1 equals 2. That means this is 2 right here. And it's an exponential function, which means it's kind of rising like this. All right? But we don't want that. We want y equals negative f of x. And with our good transformations like this, where we make the whole function negative, it's just a flip over the x-axis. So this is what we're looking for here in our answer. Not that guy. Not that guy. It's this guy, right? At -2. And that guy's definitely wrong. That's it. All right, here we go. Number 15. Remember, if these ones seem hard and you're taking the actual test, skip it. Skip 14, skip 15, jump to 16, 17, and 18. Those will usually be much easier. And then the difficulty ramps up with 19 and 20. So remember that. The difficulty drops on the free response. Alan drives an average of 100 miles each week. His car can travel an average of 25 miles per gallon. He would like to reduce his weekly expenditure on gasoline by $5. He wants to drop 5. Assuming gas costs $4 per gallon. So every gallon he's spending $4, meaning he's spending $4 every 25 miles. Which equation can Alan use to determine how many fewer average miles he should drive each week? So his rate is $4 per 25 miles, okay? And that's the rate times m. We want to know what value of m here is this going to get to equal, and we want to drop it by 5. This is our equation, and this is actually what d is. This is a really tricky problem. I remember the first time I did it, it took me a little longer. Again, I just saw this morning, but how can you verify? You can kind of guess, right? If we want to drop it by by $4, we just knock off 25 miles. If we want to drop off by $5, it's a little bit more. Maybe it's like 30 miles, something like that. Okay? Well, which one of these equations is going to give you 30 as your answer? Definitely not this one, right? It's going to be humongous. This one, we're multiplying the reciprocal 4/25, both sides. It's going to be too small. This one is going to be some weird number as well. It's going to be like 400 over 25, which should be 16 or something. This is the only one. You multiply 5 by the reciprocal, which is 25 over 4. This becomes 125 over 4. And that's about 30. Really, it's about 31. So this is the only one that gives you that answer that you can kind of, using common sense, think you should get. So that's a great way to double check. Okay, now let's go on to this guy. So it says Maria plans to rent a boat. The boat costs $60 per hour, right? And she also has to pay for a water safety course that costs $10. That's a fixed cost. And she wants to spend no more than $280 for the rental. If the boat rental is only available for a whole number of hours, it's got to be a whole number. What is the maximum hours she could rent? Well, let's solve. Isolate like this. 60h is less than or equal to 270. Divide both sides by 60. Divide both sides by 60. H is less than or equal to, and this actually, you can do the division. It's 27 divided by 6. It's like 4.5. Okay. So the question is, do we say 5 or do we say 4? Because it's got to be a whole number. We can't go 5. 5 would take us to $300. 310 actually. 5 would go over. We need to come under 280. So clearly our answer's got to be 4. So you see, 16 it's really not so bad, and this one's even not so bad either. So this is 17. All they want you to do is solve for p. So I'm gonna while I'm doing this, I'm just straight up distribute the 2. So it becomes 2p plus 2, right? Multiply. Distribute the 8 plus 8p minus 8 equals 5p. These guys combine to become 10p. These guys combine to become negative 6. Be careful with that minus. Equals 5p. All right. Subtract both sides by 5p, and I'm going to add 6 to both sides. We got 5p equals 6 divided by 5. And there's your answer. P equals 6 over 5. Next question here. System of equations, and we're solving for x, right? Look at this beautiful thing down here. We can plug it right in and solve and substitute. So we already know y equals 2x. Let's plug that in for y up top. We got 1/2 times 2x plus, there's our 2x going right back in, equals 21 over 2. This becomes 4x. I'm going to get rid of this. 1/2 of 4x equals 21 over 2. This becomes 2x equals 21 over 2. We're almost done. And then we got to multiply by the reciprocal or divide both sides by 2. Either way. I'm going to just multiply by 1/2. It looks a little easier, cleaner. That becomes x, 21 on top, 4 on the bottom. That's it. So in this case, actually, 18 was even not terrible. 19. This one looks a little worse, right? So you see now 19, the difficulty steps up. The expression above is equivalent to this, where a is a positive constant. X does not equal -2. That's just so we don't get 0 in the denominator. What is the value of a? Well, what's wrong here? This is 2 things. This is 1. So we need to get x plus 2 squared in both the denominators. Get a common denominator, then we can combine them. So 2x plus 6 over x plus 2 squared minus 2 over x plus 2. But this, we want this to become x plus 2 squared. What am I really doing here? I'm multiplying this by x plus 2, and I got to do the same up top, right? So this becomes 2x plus 6 over x plus 2 squared minus 2x. I'm going to distribute this 2x plus 4 over, and this is just x plus 2 squared, right? Remember, this minus distributes to both of these, so I can even make this a plus and just make sure to distribute it across the numerator or the denominator, but I'm putting it across the numerator so we have the denominators are still the same. And now we just combine everything. These guys add and cross off. 6 and -4 add, and we end up with 2 over x plus 2 squared. And guess what? A equals this guy right here, right? A equals 2. That's it for 19, and we got one question left. We got number 20. Number 20 is, we got a triangle and some lines. We know that this is 23. We know this is 106. And we know this is x. So we got quite a bit of time. What are we going to do? Step by step. This is like a puzzle where I say you don't even have to know exactly how you're going to get to x. Just start finding values that are missing, and you'll get to your answer. Have confidence. So we got 106 here. I know that this angle, these two angles are supplementary. They have to add to 180. What plus 106 is 180? It is 74. Well, look at that. And now, what else can I figure out? Well, I still can't get to x, but I got a triangle. What do all the angles in a triangle add up to? They add up to 180. 74 plus 23 is 97. 97 plus what is going to give you 180? It's 83. Boom, we got 83 over here. Now, these two angles are supplementary. That means x plus 83 equals 180. Subtract both sides by 83. And what do we get? 7, 9. You also know, there's also a theorem, but it doesn't matter if you don't remember it, that these two angles equal the exterior angle over here. Combine the sum of those two. But you don't have to remember that. It's okay. You can deduce it regardless. So that's the nice thing about these triangles, these angles, a lot of stuff. You don't have to remember these actual specific theorems because you can kind of reason it out. That's it. So let's go ahead and... Wait, did I enter my answer? No. So it's 97. And I think we're good. So now let's take a look and see and make sure we got everything right. Oh, I got something wrong. Okay, well, I guess I messed up. Let's see where I messed up and we can go over it. This guy. Oh, shoot. I misread this. I meant to choose quadratic function with no real zeros. This was the one where it's not supposed to intersect x. And I think I misread that. So not intersecting the x-axis, right? And with no real zeros is like one of these guys or one of these guys, meaning it never hits this. I picked it accidentally with real zeros, which would be like this, where it actually is having zeros on the x-axis. So, yeah, went a little fast, made a little mistake, but hopefully that one made sense. All right, so that's it. So listen up. Test is on Saturday, and that's a good thing. You're going to take it. You're going to get it out of the way. Hopefully you've done your preparation. Hopefully these videos are helping you. But very important to remember, we're going to do, so two things. First, we're going to do another live stream tomorrow morning. I'm going to go through the calculator section of this test. There should be a good hour live stream. So make sure to get up early and check that out before you go to school if you want a review of the test 5. Second thing, I'm also going to be talking tomorrow. Either I'm going to include it with my SAT video or I'm going to make another one in the afternoon. I'm going to be talking about what to do the day of the test. This is very important. We're going to talk about the day before, what you're going to be doing winding down, why you shouldn't be studying until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, what you should be doing instead once you wrap up your studying, and then what you should be doing the morning of, what things you need to make sure you have to bring to the test center, what you should be eating, very important, what you should be bringing as snacks. One thing I'll tell you right off the bat, you should be drinking tons and tons of water. That's a no-brainer. And we'll go over all that stuff. So make sure to tune in tomorrow if you're gearing up for this test. And I wish you guys the best of luck. And let me know if you have any questions. Again, questions, put them in the comment section. If you like the video, click like. And if you like what you're seeing here, make sure to subscribe to get more math goodies. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Take it easy.